Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for being here today. Today's video is going to be my February wrap-up. I was gonna make this a February wrap-up / March TBR, but my March TBR is about double the size of my February wrap-up, so we're just gonna make it a separate video, okay? We're just gonna make them two. So the wrap-up's today, Tuesday. The TBR will come on like Friday, I think. So anyway, we're still in February. Let's talk February for a second. I read 7 books this month, which, I mean, reading anything is an accomplishment, but I was in my head, in my dream of dreams, I was hoping to read closer to like 15 because of school. But I mean, 2 things happened this month. Number 1, my birthday. Which was at the end of the month. So the last weekend was kind of no reading at all. But also in the middle of the month, I got some pretty big bummer news. And so I had no interest in reading anything. So, you know, didn't read as much as I wanted, and that's fine. You know, I will say this, maybe I'll talk about this more in another video, but basically for my final exam for my master's degree, I get automatically 2 semesters to do it, but I was trying to do it in just 1. And so I spoke with one of my professors and they just said, absolutely not. Like, do not rush yourself to finish these books by May. Just take the 2 semesters you're already given to finish it. And so I'm gonna graduate in December instead. So I have more time. It's not as stressful. The school reading will still happen every month. It's just gonna be a little slower than what I had initially anticipated. But before, you know, I got these books, very exciting. Before we get into it, I do wanna say that I have been working on something since last summer. You may recall me saying something like, hey, I'm reading a bunch of mythology retellings right now for a big project. Well, that project is coming very soon. Like, very soon. So if you would like to be one of the first to know more, you can use the link in my description to sign up for some info. But it'll be fun. It'll be great. I am very, very thrilled about this project, and I am very excited for all of you to know more, which is coming sooner than you think. So anyway, that link will be in my description, but now let's get into the books. And if you're feeling so inclined, please let me know what your favorite book of the month was that you read and what your least favorite book of the month was. We're going to start with my least favorite, if we may. And that is The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. Listen up. I am not here to bash this book. It just didn't really work for me from a character perspective. The writing was really interesting, and the way that the story all came together, very unique. But ultimately, when you have such a character-heavy book, I wanted to care more about the characters, and I think that we got them too surface level for me to feel personally invested in the characters in this book. So basically you like have a main narrator who's just returned from the war, and you're just following his life. He lives in France, and then eventually he goes down to Spain to watch the bullfights, and then he ends up back in France. And so you're watching him and his relationships with an ex, with some friends, with some like frenemies, and you're just kind of getting his take on the people around him. He's a very self-conscious narrator, in my opinion. He doesn't give a lot of himself away, and that was another thing, was I actually really liked our narrator. I just wish that I got more of him. And I get it, right? Like, he's returned back from the war, he's dealing with some PTSD, he definitely has an injury, so I get it, like, it adds to the story of being self-conscious and like just dealing with trauma, but I wasn't very emotionally invested in any of the characters, and I would have been invested in our main character if we got a little bit more of him, but we didn't. Yeah, I'll have to try a different book by him because this one wasn't my favorite. All right, next up we have my third James Baldwin, which is Go Tell It on the Mountain. I have read If Beale Street Could Talk and Giovanni's Room, and I would say that my ranking for those books come in the order in which I've read them. So If Beale Street Could Talk's #1, then Giovanni's Room, then Go Tell It on the Mountain. I was expecting beautiful writing, and I absolutely got that. Baldwin's writing is so descriptive, and it embodies the city that he's describing, right? In Giovanni's Room, it's France and Paris, which was wonderful. In Go Tell It on the Mountain, it's Harlem. So I love how Baldwin describes space and community and neighborhoods. I think it's wonderful. The only reason why this is third in my ranking is because it leans a lot into the institution of religion. So we're learning a lot about what it's like to be in the church and how you move in the church and sin with people who are in the church. So I just think that there was a lot of church and religion that I wasn't expecting, and that's not even a bad thing in books. It just wasn't what I was expecting, and I was more invested in the moments outside of the church, but especially towards the middle and end, we got a lot of religious institutional conversation. It kind of reminds me of the style of Red at the Bone, which was a really phenomenal book that I read last year, but where in each one of this book and that book start with like one character who you think is going to be the main character, and then it starts to bloom outwards through the family, which I thought was fantastic, and really, I loved it in both Red at the Bone and Go Tell It on the Mountain. I just thought it was so cool to like, you think you're safe like with one main character, and then it becomes this like full family dynamic and dissection. So that I really enjoyed. But yeah, I mean, it was still great. It just, I really loved If Beale Street Could Talk in Giovanni's Room. So yeah. All right, the next book that I read this month was The Vanishing Half, which was a reread for me. And I very fortunately was able to get The Vanishing Half on my reading list for my degree. So when I started my reread of The Vanishing Half, I knew I was gonna love it because I loved it the first time around. But I kind of thought the like mystery and thrilling aspect wasn't gonna be there because it just, I've already read it. I know what's coming, I know what happens. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna love it, but we'll see like how the reread is. And dare I say, the reread was just as good, if not better, than the first time I read it. So if the first read was all about like unraveling the mystery and figuring out the story and how was it all gonna wrap up, this second time was really about just soaking in all of the characters and their reactions and heartache and love and fear and guilt and anxiety. I felt like I really just got to sit with it and really just soak it in a way that I didn't the first time around because I was just so intrigued on how it was going to end. So I absolutely loved it the second time. It just solidified it as like definite top 10 books for me of all time. Absolutely loved it. Just fantastic. If you haven't read it, please read it. Okay, so the next book I read was A Break from School, and it was Electric Idol by Katie Robert. This was the second book in the Dark Olympus series. It comes after Neon Gods, and this focuses on the relationship between Eros and Psyche. It is a steamy bitch, okay? So it's not for the faint of heart. If you don't like steam, skip it. Like, definitely skip it. Just don't do it. Okay, so if I was gonna compare these two books, Neon Gods to Electric Idol, I think I like Neon Gods more because it was like the first one and it was just like really fun seeing how Hades and Persephone fell in love and like just their whole story was fun. But I really enjoyed the kind of romantic blossoming that happens in Electric Idol. I think it's a very sweet romance. It's an unexpected romance. And I think there's a bit more adventure and violence in this one, or at least threatened violence because of family dynamics. And it's almost a little Romeo and Juliet, like Psyche and Eros definitely should not be hanging out. So, I mean, their relationship starts on quite a rocky start. But it's fun and it's steamy and it's romance. So it was a fun little break between school books. And it was a romance that I was really excited about this year. So that's Electric Idol. All right, the next book I read this month. Now, I know I asked this. I was like, what was your favorite book of the month? I would say that The Vanishing Half is one of my all-time favorite books, but since it was a reread, I'm not counting it in this. Instead, I'm going to say that my favorite book of this month, and maybe even the year so far, was Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. Good God, what a phenomenal novel. My Lord. So this basically follows a black man in the South, and then he finds his way up to the North in 1940s, 1950s Harlem. And so he was going to school in the South, and then something happens that changes that, and then he ends up in the North trying to find work. And so he's in Harlem, and he's trying to figure out how to best use his voice, intelligence, and influence for good, but people understand that he is a little innocent, like he doesn't know how to help, and so they're taking advantage of his innocence and his desire to help, right? Like he wants to help so bad that he's just down. He just wants to say yes, and through that, people take advantage. So the story itself was phenomenal, but the writing and the way the story unfolded was so perfect. Like, it was so refreshing and just so good. I feel like the form of this novel is different from many books I've read before. It kind of felt like, you know how like 1917 is supposed to be shot like it's just one long shot, like there's never any cuts in the movie? That's how this book felt. So it just felt like our main character never got a moment of rest. He was always on the move. He was always trying his best. He was always looking for answers. And it was physical, like he was physically going all of these places and talking to all of these people. So the story itself was fantastic, but the audiobook was also superb. It was amazing. The audiobook narrator had this laugh that he would pull out sometimes. And sometimes it was like a genuine laugh that like would make me laugh because it was just like so perfectly timed. And I was like, oh wow, this is hilarious. And then there was other times where it was almost like coming from an unstable place. So he was kind of laughing maniacally, which was almost creepy. And I just thought that the audiobook performance was fantastic. It was one of my favorite performances I've listened to because I was listening to it while I was reading it. And I just really, really, really enjoyed this one. And I think it was wonderful. Like so, so excellent. All right, the next book that I read this month was Fool Me Once by Ashley Winstead. This is an arc that comes out in the beginning of April, so I can't say too much about it. I will say that it is a really fun exes romance, so it's like about two exes coming together to work on a bill together. They're trying to get this bill passed in Texas, and so you're just seeing this kind of like spice, unfinished business type of romance, which I really appreciate. And I really liked the chemistry between the two characters. I totally bought into it. I also loved that the main character is super flawed. She is not this like perfect, beautiful angel. She is very flawed. She's been badly hurt in her past. And then from there, she hurts people in a similar way because she wants to hurt them before they hurt her. And so I really just appreciated a flawed main character because it's just more believable that way and more relatable when you're able to just be like, oh, we all have issues and we all make mistakes. So that was great. I will say it does really lean into the politics. So because the two exes are trying to get a bill passed, so they're like working together on this legislation. And so I don't love political fiction, but I feel like Ashley Winstead did a really good job at like always bringing it back to the romance while still making commentary on the political landscape. So it was kind of like Red, White, and Royal Blue for me. Like Red, White, and Royal Blue has politics in it, but the romance is still prevalent. And so I'm able to get into it a little bit more. So anyway, I thought it was great. Comes out April 1st. Really liked the chemistry between the two love interests and just really excited that Ashley Winstead is like really doing things right now. I'm really excited. I really like her writing, so I'm excited to see. She has another thriller coming out this year, so very stoked for that. Also, let me just say my pug is snoring super loud right now. So as you can hear that, he is dreaming. He's in a deep REM cycle, so I can't stop him. Anyway, the last book that I have not finished yet, but by the time you're watching this video, I will have finished it, and that is Their Eyes Were Watching God. This was a reread for me, and the second time around, again, kind of like The Vanishing Half, you think you know the story, and then you revisit it, and you just unlock all of these things that you either missed the first time around, or you're getting just fresh eyes on. So with Vanishing Half, I was really interested in the characters, and in Their Eyes Were Watching God, I'm really interested in the main character. But what I'm really enamored with is the writing. I knew that it was beautiful the first time, but I am just letting it wash over me. I'm like so fascinated with how beautiful and like lyrical this writing is. Let me actually read you one passage that was just phenomenal. Like just so good. I was like, how did someone write this? It says, she stood there until something fell off the shelf inside her. Oh my God, amazing. Then she went inside there to see what it was. It was her image of Jody tumbled down and shattered. But looking at it, she saw that it never was the flesh and blood figure of her dreams, just something she had grabbed up to drape her dreams over. In a way, she turned her back upon the image where it lay and looked further. Magnificent, truly, like just so breathtaking. And it's like every page has something poetic and gorgeous written on it. So I'm loving this reread. Again, I'll have finished it probably by the time that I'm posting this, but I wanted to make sure that I mentioned it because it's just been such a great reread. And again, it's just like, you think when you revisit a book, it probably isn't going to live up to the first time you read it. And yet, oftentimes I find when I do reread something, it's because it's kind of been tapping my shoulder, asking me to revisit. And then once I do, it's just like a whole world is unlocked. So I have really been loving this reread, and overall, it was a pretty successful reading month. I am going to try to record my March TBR right now. Like I'm gonna stop recording this one and start recording the next one. But I'm really excited about some of these books in March, especially after like what a good substantial reading month it was. It was about quality over quantity this month, and I can't say the same for next month because it's a fucking long list. But, you know, I'm hoping that I kind of follow a similar pattern of just like really enjoying the writing and just really leaning into character development. So anyway, those are the books. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.